Hello everyone, I all hope you had a very much of a wonderful day and a very much of a great day indeed, guys. Guys, I'm so superly grateful for your support in viewing and watching my episodes from TikTok, from shorts, and from long videos as well. May God bless you and keep you safe, and also may He also help you and guide you to whatever it is that you're doing as well. And may you also, as well, guys, be happy and also find your true happiness and fulfill whatever it is that you're trying to do as well. Nevertheless, guys, I'm so superly grateful for your support in watching and in viewing my episodes from TikTok shorts and from long videos as well. And from those of you who are also willing to subscribe as well. So I'm so superly grateful for that as well, guys. May God bless you as well with everything else that's going on in the world, and may He protect you and guide you in everything else you're doing. As you can see, guys, today the weather is superly blue, as in literally sky blue, as in it's literally so superly hot as well. So yeah, that's it for today's weather. Anyway, let's exactly get back on right on track. On today's episode, we're to speak about the magical warlocks of the sacred world and of the sacred universe who've been living on the sacred world and on the sacred universe and on the sacred universe for many centuries, and as well as enduring in ancient times as well. Excuse me. So let's get right into it. The during the ancient during before the foundings of after the great foundings of the sacred founders were actually created, and we made everything else and created all the sacred creatures and beings and inhabitants of the sacred world. The great magical creatures and beings were after all born and highly active as well during at the time of the great ancient times of the great century. That is when exactly the first and most powerful ancient warlock was able to live on the sacred universe, blessing the entire magical worlds and civilizations, with his greatest light, magic, power, and abilities as well in the process, by giving life and restoring life and powers to magical worlds and to dead planets in the process. During the following ancient centuries, the many warlock creatures began to exactly grow, as they kind began to exactly inherit the magical powers and the magical abilities and all of that, since the era of the child since the age of the children of prophecy. There were many powerful different supernaturals that were highly born and very much highly active as well on that time, and the warlock race became the most exceptional species of the supernatural races and of the alien races and of the superhuman races and of the Phoenician hunter races, to wield magic, to control light magic and blue magic and water magic and sacred magic and dark magic and dark powerful magic and shadow energy magic at will, which created all kinds of powerful formidable warlocks and evil dark warlocks and evil dark warlocks, as well as dark druids and light faithful and light faithful and light faithful and light faithful and dark faithful and dark witches and light witches and powerful dark ancient and light creatures of magic were successfully exactly currently born at the time, during which in those times the warlocks exactly managed to exactly founded magical schools and magical kingdoms throughout the sacred magical worlds, by building them and by refining them, by turning them into magical kingdoms and magical schools and academies for young magical wizards and fairies and druids and witches, and all alike, for them to coexist all together, as well as the hybrids of their kind and of their species, known as the fairy witches, who are a species who are an actual species of the hybrids, who are an actual species of the two hybrids between the witches and the fairies as well, who are able to actually coexist in those magical worlds and those planets as well. During the age of the fallen, during the age of darkness, known as the age of the fallen, when the fallen began his rogue campaign and mission to wipe out and annihilate the supernaturals and the aliens and the superhumans and the Phoenician hunters, the warlocks were assigned to protecting the magical worlds and civilization and the entire neighboring worlds and the sacred dimensions from being heavily attacked by the fallen. The fallen's followers began attacking all the magical creatures and began mysteriously abducting and taking their powers, mysteriously began abducting them. They seriously began literally abducting them and also taking them captive, hunting every warlock and every creature alike during in those times. Within the middle centuries of the ancient times, when the original Lord of Magic when he first rose to power by using the resources of the Shadow Empire, which he managed to place under his sole control, the warlocks were gratefully hunted by the original Lord of Magic's dark magical users, known as the Dark Druids and the Dark Witches and the Dark Faithful, forcing them to join forces with the original Lord of Magic. Otherwise, they'll be forced to face correctable extermination and great extinction. They refused. The others turned to the dark arts. Some of them exactly turned to the dark arts by using their dark magic and powers to grow stronger and to become extremely immortal and very, very powerful, while the other warlocks turned over to light magic, known as positive magic, in order to channel their powers for the greater good. The others turned into negative magic, which is dark arts and witchcraft and all of those practices of dark, evil magic, while the others focus their powers and their abilities to shadow energy magic in order to channel the power of dark magic and shadow energy magic at will in order to grant themselves more faster immortality and greater intelligence at will as well. During in those ancient times when the age of the original Lord of Magic rose to power and he ascended to power, he managed to quickly grow his numbers of dozens of many followers and an army of dark, powerful, mysterious, evil creatures from other dark dimension. He managed to place them under his sole control and a fleet of battle cruisers and of warships and of evil warlocks and evil fairies and evil dark witches began siding with the original Lord of Magic, while it created a fraction within the warlocks community itself by destabilizing the sacred, purposeful balance of creation within the warlock community itself. The evil warlocks began fighting up against the light warlocks and the good warlocks by joining forces with the original Lord of Magic. That by doing so, it created a friction among their people and among their kind in order to split their loyalty towards the Four Nation Hunters and towards the sacred peace itself that they were meant to protect. Over the following ancient times and during the ancient centuries, the warlocks of the sacred world continue to restoring life and prosperity to dead worlds and to dead planets and to dead magical worlds and planets and civilization throughout the sacred magic universe and the sacred world itself. They continue to using their light magic and their light magical powers and their ability for the greater good until Valak Hellfire and Zachanus Darkus, who are the most powerful evil Four Nation Hunters, began the campaign where the Fallen and the original Lord of Magic exactly entrusted them with to continue the extermination of eradicating the supernaturals, aliens, superhumans, and the Four Nation Hunters themselves as well, which in other words, the warlocks were forced into hiding. During the during the part time of the ancient times when the original Lord of Magic was quietly when the original Lord of Magic was quietly in power, Chaos Bringer Jack was able to protect the other magical warlocks and hide them by keeping them safe in another magical dimension, which he was able to discover on his own free will by his followers of loyal, powerful, dark, mysterious magic users who he entrusted so much with the knowledge and with the expertise he was able to discover. The other warlocks exactly went into the other magical dimension and remained there for centuries while the others coexisted and resided in the sacred world within humanity in order for them to live a normal life amongst the human race without them being discovered by humanity, while the aliens and the superhumans were discovered by humanity and the sacred world was never known and never revealed towards mankind, which could create an all-out war for humanity to finding out that they are actual creatures with dark magical powers that could exactly result in their further extermination. Despite that, the warlocks of the sacred world remain loyal in protecting humanity by fighting against the monsters of the dark dimension, which they continue to do so over the following generations and throughout the great centuries that ever exactly proceeded to go on and continued fulfilling their oath and a promise to protecting mankind and the rest of the aliens and the superhumans and the Phoenician hunters from the forces of evil, which they confronted the worst of the worst and the greatest of them all. The other warlocks exactly reconvene back to the other magical dimension in order for them to discuss their loyalties and their priorities by discovering that there are other evil, powerful, dark wizards and powerful, dark, evil warlocks who have managed to join forces on their own to siding with the other most powerful evil forces, siding with the other most powerful evil individuals throughout the sacred world, and the others exactly decided that it's time for them to actually join forces with the Phoenician hunters, helping them restore the peace that they're willing to actually restore, and by helping them restoring the power. Despite that the original Lord of Magic was gratefully in power and in control over the sacred world and over the sacred universe, willing to use his forbidden power, he's willing to use his forbidden dark power and dark abilities to continue the extermination and the annihilation of the supernaturals and of the aliens and of the superhumans and of the Phoenician hunters in that process. Nevertheless, the warlocks exactly all agreed that some of their people had managed to join to the dark side and managed to join to the darkness, sided with the darkness rather to side with the light, and they've decided it's best that they actually do what they can to preserving all of sacred reality, all of the sacred world's traditions and of reality by turning it into a new era of peace and founding. And by joining forces, whoever good guy, or rather the greatest hero, will soon ever arrive, as it was quietly prophesied by the fates, who exactly made that clear that the child of prophecy, known as a prophesied child, known as a new universal man, will be the only one powerful enough to fight up against the original Lord of Magic and restore sacred peace and balance to the sacred world, as they all completely agreed on that day within their own magical dimension that was quietly hidden and protected by powerful immense power of light and blue watery magic, concealing it away from being detected by powerful dark magical forces or from the forces of evil themselves as well. On the 24th of February, the warlocks exactly able to decide that it's best that they help the Phoenician hunters restore good relations and everything else to the sacred world and to the sacred universe, which they decided to lending their resources and their expertise, and they all quietly agreed on that as well. As a Phoenician hunter representative agreed on that as well. They all agreed that they'll actually lend a hand and decided to also helping the Phoenician Hunter Intergalactic Coalition to restore sacred peace and balance to the sacred world and to the rest of sacred existence, which was all exactly what they had to do. On the 20th of March, the warlocks exactly were in another alien magical world where there are powerful, beautiful hybrids and creatures all coexisting and living all together as one, until a Shadow Empire battle cruiser literally approached from the planet's star system, which they were able to detect. The warlocks and all the other alien magical creatures began defending the planet with their magical abilities and power by defending it from being destroyed from the Shadow Empire battlecruiser, drew to them all converging the energy and powers that were able to decimate and destroy the Shadow Empire battlecruiser, as the warlocks realizes that this is just far from beginning, that this is just far from over, that it's actually about to get far a hell of worse as well. On the 25th of April, the warlocks were able to exactly meet up with the Intergalactic Coalition Phoenician Hunter representative and telling them that the new Lord of Magic poses a greater magnitude threat to every supernatural creature and being, and all aliens and all superhumans as well, and all Phoenician hunters as well, who are also living in the sacred world. and stated to themselves that they are also being threatened by the powerful new existence of the Shadow Empire warlords and commanders who are highly, very much indestructible and very much quietly powerful enough. The 4-Nation Hunter representative and leaders successfully agreed that the new threat of the new Lola magic does pose a threat to every living creature in the sacred world and in the sacred universe, but the universal heroes are doing everything else they can in their power to actually restoring the sacred peace and balance and harmony that the new and the original Lola magic have managed to destroy and fracture. As the warlocks quietly seem unsure, Beiyao, who is the most powerful, formidable warlock in the entire warlock community and throughout the rest of sacred history, who is greatly known for his greater expertise and magical powers and abilities, reassured his people that the universal heroes will able to stay true to their word and to their commitment and to their obligation in restoring sacred peace and balance and harmony to the sacred world and to the rest of sacred existence. The other warlocks exactly believed Beiyao because Beiyao is actually one of them, and he's a member of the Universal Heroes and a member of the New Alliance as well. On the 29th of May, the warlocks all exactly met up in the magical, met up all exactly in the magical world, and in the magical civilization, when they all exactly convene on a whole and discover that they have to exactly take matters on their own hands to fighting against the forces of evil and to also overthrowing their control and influence over the magical worlds and over the other magical civilization. And that is all exactly where they all agreed that that's exactly the best time for them to actually make up a stand. And they all completely agreed that now it is definitely the best time for them to do so. On the 28th of June, the warlocks exactly arrived on the sacred magical universe where the other magical kingdoms were being attacked by a group of powerful, formidable, dark, rogue witches who are solely eager to conquer it and place it under their control. The fight between the warlocks and the dark witches continued as the dark witches seemed to have the upper hand due to their experience in dark magic and in shadow energy magic that were able to literally triumphate against the warlocks, against the good, powerful light magic users of the warlocks, against their light magic and powers, and they remain victorious as the warlocks realizes that the dark witches are highly, very much quietly, inceptually skilled in the dark arts, and that their magic and their shadow energy and magic and shadow magic and power has systematically grown as well. On the 25th of July, on the 25th of July, the warlocks exactly search for more powerful hidden magical skills and techniques in order to perfect their abilities and highly to adopt them and in highly to upgrade them in order to fight up against the most powerful dark magic users they've ever encountered. Beiyao exactly decided to insist them with their research since he's willing to aid these people to fighting up against the dark and rogue powerful immortal magic users as well. On the 15th of August, the warlocks all exactly met up with the other fairies of the sacred magic universe on the other magical schools that are quietly within the center of the sacred magic universe, where they all decided that they want to help the warlocks fighting up against the evil warlocks and the evil fairies and the evil dark witches, and by vanquishing them and by literally disposing all of them completely. And they all agreed to join forces, and they all agreed to share each other's expertise, knowledge, and about new magical abilities and powers and greater abilities as well. On the 25th of September, the fairies exactly showed the magical warlocks about actually 25 warlocks and about 68 fairies who actually showed the warlocks the sacred hall of magic, where there was powerful light magic and powerful greater magic than ever before, and told the warlocks they can infuse themselves with light magic and with power, or they can either extract and absorb the magical ability in order to grow their power and their immense powers and their abilities as well in a process in order to enhance their powers and the inception and their perception as well to grow more powerful than the dark warlocks, then the dark druids and the dark witches and the dark faithful, then as well as the dark witches themselves as well as the dark sisters and the most powerful dark magical creatures and beings that ever existed. The warlocks agreed that they'll rather continue studying and also getting more knowledge and more power, but more than that, they've discovered that there's another alternative way to getting greater, lighter magic and power than to highly evolve their skills and their power set in a very more different, perfect world technique. On the 29th of October, the warlocks exactly entered a magical, powerful, beautiful waterfall, ancient crystal cave of magic, which was undiscovered, where they discovered ancient, powerful paintings about their origins and about their kind and about their species, that there was once a powerful founding new greater warlock who fought up against a war, against a powerful evil warlock who wanted the power of darkness and the power of greater dark magic for himself in order to become extremely mortal and primarily evil himself, to highly evolve his power. And they discovered that the light warlock made greater preparations in preparing the great day of the great conflict that will soon actually come, when the day will actually come. And this greater warlock founder was unknown and was gratefully, secretly, and unknown to all sacred histories, books, and architects, and everything else throughout the sacred world's history. He was quietly unknown and unnamed, but he was known as the warlock founder, who was a superior founder of light, magic, and power, and of all the warlocks of his people and of his kind, within the paintings of the sacred ancient crystal waterfall cave that the warlocks were able to discover. During that time, they began channeling the light magic and the light magic crystals and all of its powers and its abilities, as well as they discovered that they can also teach the universal magic heroes and universal magic girl as well to channeling their powers for the greater good and for the greater abilities as well. On the 20th of November, the Universal Magic Heroes and Lightress, who is the leader of the Universal Defending Heroes, and an Universal Magic Girl exactly met up with the Warlocks on an ancient crystal waterfall cave, where they all exactly began meditating and converging all their powers and all their abilities at the exact same time, where they were able to grant new powers and new perception of reality and all of their great magical abilities at the exact current time, discovering that they have more power and more greater abilities, as the warlocks exactly told the Universal Magic Heroes and Lightress and Universal Magical that they can still draw power from the positive way, then not from the dark side way, and not from the darkness of dark magic or shadow energy, in order to access it from its darker power. Universal Magical told the great warlocks of the sacred world that she's fruitfully grateful for their greatest assistance in assisting her teammates and the rest of her teammates in studying the practices of light magic, which could also make their abilities greater, more powerful than anything else. And the Universal Magic Heroes began thanking the warlocks for the great teachings and the techniques of perfecting their light magical abilities and their powers at will, instead of fully concentrating it in a negative, darker way to utilize dark magic and the dark arts and shadow energy powers and the dark powers of shadow energy at will, which is not exactly what they're willing to utilize as well. The warlocks exactly reassured the Universal Magic Heroes and Lightress and Universal Magic Girl that they're forever allies to the Universal Heroes and they will forever remain allies, but they have a bigger mission of their own, to fighting up against the dark magical forces of the sacred world and in vanquish them, and also trying to banish them away from the sacred magical worlds and planets. The Universal Magic Heroes and Universal Magical and Lightress decided that it's best that they join forces all together in order to assist them against a common enemy and against a common interest, which is what all they can exactly agree to, since they share the common interest in protecting their worlds and planets from being invaded and from being destroyed by powerful, ancient, mystical forces of dark magic and of sacred forces of the sacred world. And the warlocks were very much grateful that the heroes have decided to aid them on their respective mission and goal as well. On the 29th of December, the warlocks and the Universal Magic Heroes and Lightress and the Universal Defending Heroes all exactly took a stand on the central headquarters of the magical kingdom of light, where they were all exactly present to fight up against the dark forces, as the dark magical forces of evil began to exactly teleport themselves, all of them completely, the dark druids, the dark witches, and the dark faithful, and the dark other dark witches and dark rogue dark sisters and dark rogue time witches began converging all the power of dark magic and fighting up against the good forces of fighting up against the greater good forces of greater good by taking them all the forces converged their power and their abilities against one another as the heroes and the warlocks remain gladfully victorious by vanquishing and by successfully winning the battle up against the forces of evil as well. The forces of the dark magic users realizes that the warlocks have become more powerful and more stronger and more highly invincible than the last time they have ever fought them. The Dark Witches exactly told their allies that they have to teleport, as they realize that they can never conquer the sacred magical kingdom of light, that they failed operation has desperately failed, and that it's best for them to actually focus the other attempts in conquering lesser powerful qualities of magics and kingdoms of the sacred magical dimension. At this rate, they all teleported away by disappearing through a cloud of darkness, of fearful darkness, and the wizards and the warlocks and the universal magic and the universal magic heroes and universal magical and the universal defenders celebrated their victories as they reassured the good magical creatures and beings that the universal magic heroes and the universal heroes and the universal founders and the universal space heroes have their best interests at heart, and what they want is exactly what they want: peace and harmony towards the sacred magical universe. The other warlocks exactly told Universal Magical and Lightress and the rest of the Universal Defending Heroes that what Baal actually said was quietly true, that these heroes do have their best interests at heart, and that they completely are indeed one of them, and that they completely understand where they come from, that they all exactly share the same common interest and a common goal. After that, the Warlocks agreed that they'll forever remain allies to the Universal Heroes and to the Intergalactic Coalition of the Formation Hunters. Universal Magical and Lightress and the rest of the Universal Defending Heroes were very glad that they managed to make many friends and many comrades along the way. On the 25th of January, the Warlocks all exactly convene on a beautiful crystal waterfall temple that was quietly not exactly hidden from the magical forest of the from the magical enchanted forest of the sacred magic dimension, where they all exactly begin literally converging all their powers and all their abilities and all their greater abilities, activating the temple's powers and its greater abilities and its greater inceptions, and using it as a central headquarters for them to actually focus on, while the other warlocks exactly scouted the entire forest as they saw greater, powerful, ancient statues of their previous ancestors, and of their previous predecessors, and of the powerful warlock founder who was ever known, and of the dark warlock founder who fought up against the other warlock founder. And there are more powerful ancient statues of the sacred founders of the sacred world, and of the Omega founders and of the sacred Omega founders of the sacred world, who also were unknown who also are unknown to sacred history as well, but who also gratefully disappeared. As the warlocks of the sacred world realizes that there are more powerful ancient mysteries and secrets of the sacred world that were still undiscovered, and that they have to discover them. The other warlocks agreed that they'll have to split up in different factions, while the others continue to discover more secrets about the sacred world's secrets, histories, and everything else that are partly kept hidden, while the others will continue creating a powerful resistance force of magical creatures and beautiful magical creatures and greater magical creatures, utilizing their magic and their abilities and powers for the greater good in order to join in forces with their cause to fighting up against the evil forces of magic and to mysteriously vanish them out of the way completely. They all agreed to shake hands, and that they'll all exactly meet up in the sacred magic pocket dimension is where they'll all exactly convene and decided to meet up when the following time and year exactly passes, as they all agreed to that. Between February and March, the warlocks were all very much completely powerful and very much completely greater. Unknowns to the Formation Hunters, they all exactly begin converging their light blue magic and their powers and their greater abilities to activating the dormant crystals of the other crystal worlds and planets of the civilization, as they all exactly made a deal with the Crystal Queen to making sure her dimension remains at peace and that it's heavily protected. Unbeknownst to the beautiful, kind, loving warlocks, that the Crystal Queen was willing to compromise the ancient truce she made with a previous founding ancestor, that the previous founding warlock made with her in order to protecting her realm and her sacred dimension from being attacked by powerful, mysterious forces, and that the Crystal Queen was thirsting for power and for sole control over the sacred, magical dimensions and worlds and planets in a civilization for her own ends and for the survival of her people. That is what the warlocks did not exactly realize and began not to understanding, that the Crystal Queen was willing to compromise her alliance with the warlocks in order to ensuring the survival of her people was always put first to her, despite the future of the sacred world's future and its fate relying on the universal heroes. She was willing to join forces and also secretly colluding with the forces of evil of the sacred universe to ensuring that their plans and goals successfully bear fruit as well, as long as her and her people benefit that. That is what the warlocks did not exactly realize. Between February and March, the powerful warlock community, meaning meaning thousands and millions of them, began converging their powers and their abilities in utilizing their greater magical powers and their abilities to activating the dormant crystals of the other crystal worlds and planets, as they made a powerful, traceable, sacred truce and an ancient powerful alliance with the great crystal queen of the other sacred crystal dimensions that the Crystal Queen has been able to rule from and manage to conquer from as well. On the 20th of April, the warlocks exactly met up with the elderly warlocks and leaders from the rightful respective realms and dimensions, and they exactly told them they managed to be doing much of a greater good job and a very much of a greater work. The other elderly warlocks exactly warned the other warlocks that they are powerful, dark warlocks who are very eager to disrupt the peace and the progress that they've solely made, and the most powerful dark witch as Witchcaster, Amber, and the Dark Sisters, and the Mind Sisters, and the Sacred Sisters, and the Nature Witches are willing to exploit that peace and that gain for their own benefit and for their own sinister plans to further it for their own goal, especially now that Lord Clay and the new Lord of Magic are successfully rising in power and from the shadows. The warlocks exactly reassured the warlock elders that they're willing to protect their realms and the dimension from the ancient sinister organizations of the ancient supervillains, and they're willing to fight against their forces and their operatives to ensuring peace and prosperity and balance remains the same as well. On the 25th of May, the warlocks exactly incepted a superhuman monster attacking other alien creatures from the other alien civilization and worlds and jungle forests, as they were able to literally incept it and literally exactly taking down the superhuman monster and creature before literally created a rogue rampaging towards the alien community. And the warlocks exactly reassured the aliens that they are here on the good faith and on the good side of the Four Nation Hunters and willing to aid them. But the alien races exactly told the warlocks that they don't believe them and that they don't seriously trust them, and that they told the warlocks to stay away from their home worlds and planets and from their star systems, as it was made perfectly clear many ages ago that the warlocks and the magical creatures stay away from the alien worlds and from the alien planet. That was part of the former ancient deal and the former pact. The warlocks exactly told the aliens that relying on the ancient truths that lived many centuries ago won't be any use now, especially for more ancient sinister threats that are completely rising from both worlds and from both communities from all their sizes, and that they have to band together and join forces with one another. The aliens exactly refused to see reason, as they told the warlocks that they have to retreat, or otherwise this is an attack and an imminent attack and a way of an art of war. The warlocks exactly teleported themselves away as they completely exactly retreated away and drove away from the alien worlds. They were able to exactly reconvene back to the sacred magical crystal temple within the sacred enchanted forest of the magical worlds on that day, able to talk about what exactly happened with the other aliens, as they realize that the fraction has been created and that there's nothing they can do about it. Bayao exactly told the other warlocks and his people that he has a different way and a different alternative way for them to successfully win and also turn the war into a positive way, then rather into a darker way as well. On the 25th of June, Bayao and the other warlocks exactly showed the elderly council of the warlock communities all the threats and all the forces of evil that were highly still operational, while the others remain in the shadows of the sacred universe and of the sacred world, secretly planning and the next targeted ways to targeting worlds and planets and systems, and showing the Shadow Empire is in quietly still in turmoil and still in chaos, as the other Shadow Empire warlords and commanders are still willing to threaten other worlds by placing them under their sole control and by forming formidable secretive alliances with ancient groups of supervillains. The elderly warlocks exactly agreed that they'll assist the intergalactic coalition, but in one condition: the universal heroes must soar their obligation to them and only to them. Baal exactly tried to convince the warlock elders and leaders of their respective homeworlds and planets that they must join forces with the universal heroes and with the united heroes. They are the ones who solely believe in their goal and with their mission, and that he's fully a member of one of them, and that he completely has seen the progress of their goal and of their mission, and that the 4 hunters are willing to join forces with them, and that they completely understand them. The elderly warlocks exactly refuse to see reason, as they exactly warned Baal that the time for them to actually join forces with the 4 hunters has ended, as there are some 4 hunters who have colluded with Zacchaeus Darkus and with Valak Hellfire and with the original Lord of Magic and with the Fallen by sharing their goal and their perspective in trying to exterminate them and by trying to wipe them out. Baal also pointed out that there are powerful, dark, mysterious, evil wizards and dark warlocks who are also willing to do the same thing as they also did, meaning, in other words, they must join forces altogether to fight up against the forces of evil. The elders of the warlock community exactly refuse to still see reason, as they warned Baal that this will be an act of war if you decide to go up against your people. And the other warlocks exactly stood beside Baal and told the elderly warlock council that they're willing to join forces with the universal heroes. And the elderly warlock council exactly told the warlocks and of their own people that they hereby banished from the sacred magical worlds of the warlock dimension and universes, and that they hereby no longer welcome, that hereby the warlocks have declared war upon the 4 hunters. On the on the 28th of July, the warlocks exactly convene on the ancient crystal enchanted temple, as they began to exactly discover that there's a sinister force of evil at play here that's manipulating their people and their kind from the shadows. As Baal was able to exactly agree with the other warlocks that they must do something before this war turns out into a bloody and a powerful, dark, magical war that could literally spiral out of control, and it might result in a full extermination of their kind and of their people. The other warlocks agreed that what can they possibly do in order to change the minds of the elderly council is by showing them exactly what's happening, as Baal exactly pointed out, and he's got an idea how. On the 16th of August, the warlocks exactly began meditating and practicing their magical talents and their abilities in continuing teaching the new generation of their kind and of their people in how to utilize magic in a positive way rather than not in a dark way, by creating powerful light magical orbs of light magic and of blue magic, by restoring life to all worlds and beautiful planets, as the other aliens and supernatural creatures began to be thankful to the warlocks and to the other forces, as Baal realizes that his people are doing tremendously good works and good faith in everything else that they're doing, and he was very successfully happy of them to actually do that. On the 20th of September, the warlocks exactly began secretly actually trying to create a powerful holographic map to realize that the dark warlocks have managed to conquer many dark planets and civilization across the dark universe, and the other magical worlds have fallen under their control and under their influence. The other warlocks realizes that it's time for them to take the war against their own people and against their own kind, in order for them to right the wrong of their past dark misdeeds. And Baal agreed that it's definitely the time to do that as well. Despite that, guys, the warlocks have lived in the sacred universe and in the magical dimension for centuries and during the ancient times. They were founded, they were actually, the origins exactly date back during the age of the sacred founders, where the founding, powerful, unknown founding warlock was the most powerful and extremely immortal one, and greater, loving, and kind, as he realizes that true power can only come from those who truly love each other and acknowledge each other and also live in one another. That is where true power comes from, when he fought up against the other evil warlock founder by banishing him to the ends of the dark dimension where he was never again seen or heard of. The original warlock founder decided to erase all the ancient history about him and about his kind and about the rest of the evil forces of the other warlocks who were completely unknown. This exactly created a powerful eradication and the reincarnation cycle of the other warlocks who began fighting amongst each other and amongst themselves as well, which began for centuries and continued to go on for centuries and for ages, which created a division and a fraction among the warlocks themselves, between the evil warlocks and between the good warlocks themselves as well. The warlocks are very skilled in light magic, and some are very crafted in dark magic and in shadow energy and in shadow energy and in shadow energy's powers and its abilities as well. They're extremely immortal, very beautiful, very, very crafted creatures in light magic and in dark magic. They're very skilled in teleportation, opening portals, waking up the dead, restoring life, converging magic, creating convergence powers, the ability of infusing themselves with light magic and with shadow energy, and the ability of controlling worlds and planets, and of also activating dormant worlds and crystals and magical powers and magical powers, and the ability of literally of shapeshifting, and the greatest ability of shapeshifting, and the ability of creating powerful light magic orbs and of dark magical orbs and abilities as well, and the ability of mind controlling, telepathic telekinesis, and the ability of changing their eyes and the glowing of their eyes and of their power, and the ability of adapting and also evolving creatures. They're extremely powerful and invincible, extremely immortal creatures as well, who are very loving and very good. Some of them rely on dark magic and on shadow energy, while the others rely on light magic and on positive magic for their own use, while the others rely on the forces of good, and the others team up against the forces of evil. The evil warlocks are very determined in order to conquer all the other worlds and civilization by any means necessary. Throughout the ancient times, and during the ancient times, the good warlocks fought up against a greater war against the dark warlocks of their own kind, willing to vanquish them, willing to vanish them, and willing to banish them from the ends of the sacred universe. This exactly maintained the friction, and it still continued, while the other warlocks formed a powerful alliance with the Crystal Queen, who is, by the way, a very mysterious queen and an evil, conniving queen, very much intelligent and very much clever, who's also formed a powerful ancient alliance with other ancient forces of evil. The warlocks are very loving, very, very, very loving and very good, very, very compassionate, very driven, very caring, trustworthy, honesty. The good warlocks are very loving and compassionate, very trustworthy, very skillful in light magic and in dark magic and in negative magic and in positive magic and in shadow energy. Very, very compassionate, very intelligent, very optimistic, and very, 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 very completely intelligent and smart, beautiful creatures and loving creatures. According to the 4 Nation Hunters, the warlocks are very, very driven by love, and they're very, very good at making worlds and planets come back to life, while the other warlocks drew their power from dark magic and dark energy and from dark powers, which they believe will make them extremely immortal and very powerful as well. Regardless of the last, the other warlocks believe in the universal heroes and in the 4 Nation Hunters mission and in their good works, but the warlock elders who have lived longer and for centuries and during the ancient times still are stuck in the old ways, while the other warlocks have began to adapt and evolve in the new ways of the sacred world and of the sacred universe. They live on many, many magical worlds, many dimensions, civilization, other pocket worlds and magical kingdoms and magical schools and civilization, forming alliances with good powerful fairies and good witches and good druids and good faithful, fighting up against their own kind and up against their own species in order to restoring peace and balance to the sacred world and to the sacred magic universe and to the sacred universe itself. And they solely believe in the universal magic heroes and in the universal magic heroes and in the universal magic girl and in the universal heroes and in the rest of the universal defenders mission and their goal, and they decided to remain allies to the intergalactic coalition and to the 4 Nation Hunters and to the universal heroes themselves in order to place their trust and faith towards them. The good warlocks are very good and are very powerful. The dark, powerful, evil warlocks are very, very ruthless, merciless. They have no compassion, no humanity, no empathy, not even a scent of it. All they care about is power, controlling worlds and planets and civilization. But the good warlocks are very, very compassionate and are very, very loving, willing to protecting their worlds and their civilization from being destroyed by the most powerful, immortal, greater, ancient forces of evil that have resided and lived in the sacred world and in the sacred universe for centuries and during the ancient times. The warlocks are very clever, smart, intelligent beings crafted with light magic with the ability of concealing their magical powers from humans living like as normal people, able to maintain their bases of operation in within planet Earth by using hotels and beautiful islands as ways for them to practice their magical abilities and powers, as well as maintaining their central headquarters, which is the ancient crystal waterfall temple that's quietly within the sacred magic universe's enchanted forest, where they can easily practice their powers and their light magical abilities and their powers and their light magical abilities and powers, convening and meeting to discuss it. They are known as a warlock resistance, which are the good warlocks who do good with their good magic and their good powers and their greater abilities, and they have a kind heart and a beautiful, warm heart, extremely intelligent, very, very full of empathy and greater compassionate, and very extremely loving and trustworthy of the Four Nation Hunters, which some don't exactly believe in them, but the others don't turn bad. The others who have become dark warlocks are the most evil, dangerous of them all, while the others remain good and very resourceful to the Four Nation Hunters and to the Universal Heroes, which is exactly they remain allies to them. And Bayao is the member of the warlock community, and he's a warlock himself, while the other warlocks completely believe in Bayao and they literally trust him in his word. When the Alliance and the Four Nation Hunters and of the Universal Heroes believe in what they're doing, which they decided to place their faith and trust straightly into Bayao and the rest of the Universal Heroes. The warlocks have lived for centuries, and during the ancient times in the sacred world, they are the most powerful, greater magical creatures, most inceptible to magic and immune to dark magic spells and abilities, while some are not exactly highly evolved creatures and highly evolved beings and very powerful creatures and very greater beings in mind controlling, telepathic, telekinesis, flight, having the power of flight and having the greater abilities to talking to other magical creatures by projecting astral projections of themselves and also by literally talking to them. Very clever in maintaining the usual basis of operation, as well as a central headquarters, which is a crystal, powerful, beautiful water temple that's quietly within the sacred enchanted forests, of the sacred magic dimension, where they can convene and meet and discuss their plans and all of that. They believe in what exactly they're doing and they're willing to do it for the greater good. Well, guys, that's it for today's episode. I will actually see you tomorrow on Wednesday. Like and subscribe, and may you have a blessed, wonderful day and enjoy yourself and stay happy and be very, very true to yourself and have a great day indeed. Love you guys and appreciate your support. Please continue to supporting and watching and viewing my episodes on TikTok and on shorts and on long videos. And those of you who are subscribing, very grateful for your support indeed, guys. Truly appreciate it. Very, very truly appreciate it. May God bless you and keep you safe. Have a wonderful day and love you all, and take care and have a fun day and have a beautiful day. Stay happy and stay positive. Bye. Bye. As in literal.